Hello, and welcome back to the Beyond the Coach podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Kelsey Nanini,
And I'm Chris Sweet.
and we're just gonna get into it today, I think, because we just have a really good podcast. As many of you guys know, if you're listening to this, we have about, and if you've been following along over the past month, we have 4 days left in our Summit in Six registration for our transformation challenge, and just figured we would talk a little bit more today about the word plateau and why a lot of coaches feel that and what we help coaches do differently. Because it's not only your clients that are plateauing, it actually is coaches as well. And while that can be a taboo word, it happens. We all hit those points, and our big goal with Apex Coach Accelerator is to hopefully reduce those points for coaches and just keep forward momentum going. So let's dive in.
Let's
Chris,
do it.
in your experience, because I know you are, a business coach, but you also have ACA clients where you're helping them with their own delivery and client cases and all that. What are like some big things you find, like even actions that clients do, or not clients, coaches do, that kind of get them in just that like muddy water, that like plateau arena?
The biggest thing is they just stop prioritizing themselves. Like they start prioritizing the business as they should, right? And I think that's where I always make the comparison of like it's when you start dating someone for the first time, right? Like, and I've seen this with my friends. They start dating someone new. They're spending all their time with this person. They kind of like you kind of see them a little less because now they're with this partner, and then like eventually you see them again. Like eventually you start seeing them. They like integrated that person into their lives and their relationships with their friends a lot better. But that's kind of like how I think when you first start getting into building your business, working in business mentorship, is you kind of like the business itself kind of becomes the new boyfriend. It's kind of like the new thing that you start just not ghosting yourself, but like you just become a little distant without you even knowing it, right? Like I've had so many situations with friends where like they don't know that they've been distant until like you call them out on it, right? Or they just like come to their senses and they're like, hey, like I realized that I was really distant in this season, or like when I was seeing that person. That they really don't see it. They really have their blinders on in the beginning. And it's the excitement, it's the initial thrill of running a business, it's the initial thrill of getting to dive in and have sales calls and taking clients and all this stuff that they just get a little lost. And I think that's where the murkiness starts, that then they blink 6 months later, a year later, so on. And they kind of realize they just lost their identity a bit with themselves. Like their business became their full identity. Um, and the confidence starts to lack. And then they stop showing up the same way, and they kind of stop having that same momentum towards business because it's kind of caught up to them at that point, and they back down because of it.
Just like all compounds. When you were
Mhm.
talking, I was kind of thinking about a term, and I think I want to coin this term. I'm going to talk to Jess about this on our call tomorrow. Blind grinding. Like
Blind grinding. I
blind
like
grinding,
that.
where you're just in. I was like, wow, I thought I had like pregnancy brain, and all of a sudden my brain is thinking of cool things. Where you just like have these really, really big goals for yourself. And I think we all do. And I think if you don't, you're probably not destined to have a business. If you don't have big goals that seem just really insane, and it doesn't even have to be income focused, right? But you have these goals and you have actually no reason or rhyme to what you're doing. Or opposite, you don't have goals specifically set, you don't have KPIs, and you're just grinding for no reason. You're just like working all day long, and you almost don't know what you're even working for anymore. And you just get stuck in this vicious cycle of doing all day long. And for a lot of coaches, what I actually find, and what we've found a lot in ACA, is you're providing too much to your clients and you're actually spending too much time with them. And that can be part of the blind grind, is like you're just grinding on the wrong things too. Like, not that your clients are the wrong thing. You should absolutely be providing like a ton of value to them to obviously help them and keep them around. But there is such a thing as giving too much to your clients, to where now you're giving a ton to them and none to yourself.
Yeah. And I think too, at that point, like results start to stall both in business and in your own health, that you've led yourself to a point where you actually can't even identify why. You're like, why has this stopped working? Like, I just, I kept doing what I was doing. And we always say, like, it works until it doesn't. And you kind of stop evolving in that. And I know for us, even, it's been a lot of like, hey, stop working in the business so much and work on the business and be more intentional with what we're working towards. And that's something that comes down to like having better systems and having just, I would say, better awareness over your business, but also over yourself, to do a little bit of a self audit on like how you're truly doing in the process of building a business and where you're falling short, and then taking faster action to actually stop your spiral from happening, to where all of a sudden you blink and you're like, how did we get here? And then you can build that frustration towards yourself too.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Chris and I aren't business coaches within Apex Coach Accelerator. Like, we'll help you with business questions here and there, but like, we're not giving you a specific strategy. But I think that is where a lot of coaches may struggle, is they don't pay attention to any of those things. And then maybe they do hire a coach, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing any of these things. Tracking KPIs, even setting goals for yourself. That was something when I had my first business coach. They were like, so you're going to set goals or like KPIs. And I'm like, what the fuck's a KPI? Like, I had no idea. Like, I was blind grinding for a long time before I got like, a big focus. And, but I think then you can sway and almost get into this paralysis by analysis of like, okay, well, now I have these KPIs, but now I'm not doing those things. Now I'm just not doing anything. And you want to give up, or things slow down for you, because now you're like almost trying too hard to do all of the things, and it's not coming. I don't want to say naturally, because it's not going to. Like, there is a element of grinding in business, but then it's almost feeling all forced, and you just burn down, and you actually just want to burn your entire business to the ground, which, been there.
I mean, it's the same thing that I think everybody who's listening has heard from some lead somewhere in the DMs, where they're like, yeah, I'm just doing everything right and like nothing's working, right? Or like, oh, I was doing everything right and then suddenly I hit a wall and stopped working. We talk so much like holding up the mirror. I feel like I could coin that. Just hold the mirror. I feel like I should get that tattooed
You're
on
just
me
gonna hold the
somewhere.
mirror at
Like,
all times.
hold the mirror at all times. But when that's being said, it's like so true for our own business, right? And our own internal systems to our life at that point, where it's like at some point, yes, blind grinding and quote unquote doing the right things that did get you to a certain point isn't going to necessarily help you surpass that, right? So when these people come to you and they're like, well, I'm doing all the right things, but like, it's just not working. It's like, well, honestly, you're probably not doing the right things then, right? Because if you were, you would be where you want to be, or you'd be at least progressing to the point that you want to be at. So there's a reason that you've hit this plateau in your fitness, in your business, in your life, honestly. Like, kind of the excitement and the passion towards what you were building dies down, and that's like a really hard time for coaches to actually pull themselves out of that, because I think that's where we see a lot of coaches like kind of fall off the face of the earth. Like, they feel that, and then all of a sudden they're not on social media and they're not DMing and they're not doing the thing, simultaneously not taking care of themselves too. So I've just seen so many coaches lose themselves in that process, and I think really the intention that we have is like not letting coaches lose themselves in the process, but actually continue to regain a sense of identity and like confidence, while simultaneously building something that takes a lot of our energy and like can be something that we get really wrapped into so heavily in different seasons.
Yeah, for sure. And to your point of like losing yourself, I've noticed this in myself, is when I stop not putting I don't want to say put myself first, but when I stop prioritizing myself, when I stop pouring as much into myself as I'm used to, because I'm very much that person where I'm like, at the end of the day, I have to come first, because if I'm not putting my needs before my clients, then now I'm not showing up for my clients even. And so when I found myself slipping into that, even just in busier seasons of business, when we are working more, on things, and like we're just really trying to, like, right now it's just a busy season, there's a lot of moving parts. And I've even noticed some clients, like I just had a client call this morning and she's like, thank you so much for just like clarifying everything, because I'm feeling a lot better with things. I just feel like it's been a little messy, and I'm like, dude, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you feel that, because now it's something for me to reflect on. And that's something, it happens to Chris and I, even it happens to everyone. But I think too, if you're the coach who's constantly on that, because that's an anomaly for me. Like, that's not normal. But it happens from time to time. And first, I think it's recognizing that and being able to know like when you aren't on your shit, your clients also slip. And it's this weird thing where they feel it. When you aren't prioritizing yourself, clients can see that. And also I think too, when you're not prioritizing yourself, your brain is foggy. You forget things slip up. You aren't taking as good of care of your as your
Whoa.
gosh, I just like short circuited. Did you see
You
the
co-
short circuit happening?
you complimented your pregnancy brain, and then your pregnancy brain came for vengeance, like
Yeah, my
real
pregnancy member was
fast.
like, "Bitch, we're still here." Um. Oh no, I don't even. Okay. Anyways.
When you stop
Basic.
prioritizing yourself and
Yes.
being on your shit, your client
Yep. Your
start to see
clients
that.
feel it, and they, you stop actually like doing some of the things. You stop checking some of the boxes. Maybe your programming just gets really sloppy, and because you're not prioritizing yourself, maybe you're spending time on other things that now you're like, oh shoot, I forgot that client's program is due, or I forgot to even I forgot to respond to their check-in, and things just start slipping because you aren't in good alignment with yourself and your goals.
Mhm.
And now that slips into your business, regardless if you like it or not. Like that is just a byproduct of it. And the reason why it's so important. And it's funny because at the same time, you're telling your clients to get their shit together and to manage their stress because their work is taking over their life and they're not prioritizing themselves. And you're doing the same thing.
Mhm. No, absolutely. Yeah, and I think you're presented with a choice when this happens, right? Like, and I have felt that definitely in so many different seasons of business where you're like, you want to grind and you want to grow, but also you're being given kind of this like feedback loop, right? From yourself, like your own audits with yourself, but then also clients coming to you and even giving feedback. And I think you're presented with a choice at that point of like, do I continue to grind? Do I continue to do things really sloppy? Or do I actually like improve on the things that I know I need to at my core, that while in the moment doesn't necessarily grow revenue and bring in a lot of new income and necessarily crush our KPIs, they're the things that in 6 months, in a year, in 2 years from now, you're actually going to thank yourself for doing, because otherwise that feedback loop continues to come back to us. So I think when you're presented with this option or this feedback mentally to be like, hey, something needs to change, it's okay to slow down, because plateaus don't necessarily get solved by speeding up. They actually get solved by like slowing down and really analyzing yourself. I was actually thinking this morning of one of our girls who did our cohort, actually. I won't say her name just for privacy, but just for context, she ended up pausing her business coaching during the time of our cohort because she had come to me and she was like, Chris, I just like don't feel good in coaching. I'm taking on all these clients. Like, and her business was growing. She was taking on clients. She was doing the thing, but she was like, I feel sloppy. I feel like I'm onboarding all these clients. I don't know what to do with them. I feel like I'm just winging it. I feel overwhelmed. I feel like if I continue this trajectory, it's like not going to be good for me. Will I maybe end up with like 50 clients? Great. But like, will I feel good with my business? Probably not. And I was really proud of her for having this discussion with me. And it was, at a beautiful time when we were doing our cohort, that I was like, hey, listen, come into the cohort. Or actually, she had sparked it. She was like, I really want to do your cohort, but I can't afford doing like business coaching plus cohort. So we had agreed to pause her from business coaching at the time, because we were like, we saw the value in her taking a step back to then be able to come back after the cohort and do really, really well. And we took that chance, right, of pausing her. And I say we, obviously the business coaching company is who did it, but I can speak now, seeing her come back into the container. She is soaring. Like, she has a scholarship right now. She has over 20 applicants. She's excited to serve her clients. She knows exactly what she's supposed to do with her clients. And it's made the world of a difference. And she said that to me. She was like, Chris, thank you for letting me like kind of change the direction, right? Like, and I think we all feel like we're on this GPS that we're following. And it's like sometimes you take a wrong turn and the GPS has to reroute you. And like, she didn't take a wrong turn, right? Maybe she took the risk of like, okay, is this going to add 5-10 minutes to my destination? Maybe. Will it add an hour? Will I hit traffic? I'm not sure. But like, I know like something in her was telling her to do that. And I'm really proud of her for taking that, because now she actually gets to apply the business coaching stuff so much better and in a more organized way, simply because she's taking the education that she needed to learn as a coach. And I think it's so opposite. And we talk about that. People think when they're growing the business, oh, I need to hire the business coach first, when really it's actually something that I say, well, you kind of need to hire the fitness coach first, because you have to be like on your shit to then be at something that's on an even higher level of shit that you have to be on. Like it's a whole different level. And so I just have to highlight that of like sometimes the plateau is not speeding up and adding more to your plate. She definitely could have. She could have done both at the same time, but she recognized that like I actually really need to slow down. She didn't take on as many clients during that time. She was more focused on just getting coursework done, watching call recordings, asking me questions, and now she has over 20 scholarship applicants and she's probably going to crush her conversion because of it too. So it just puts things into perspective.
Sure. I don't even know who we were talking to about this, but just about how Apex Coach Accelerator is so special. And we can obviously, touch on that in this podcast. But I really kind of don't step back and look at it enough of like, wow, this is actually like the container that I wish I had when I was getting into online coaching, because I know for a lot of coaches who, and maybe now even still, that transitioned into the online space because of COVID or even post COVID, and or even now, really, like at any point you transition into online, no one's really teaching you what that delivery looks like. And even if you were an in-person trainer, most likely you weren't doing nutrition, you weren't doing weekly check-ins, you weren't doing like all these other deliverables that you get when you do online coaching, which to the other point is like you're probably getting clients on the other end of it that you're maybe potential clients that you're getting on sales calls with, or you're talking to about your program and they're like, well, I just need somebody in person because yada, yada, yada. Usually it's because it's like, I need to show up for someone or whatever. If you have a product that you feel really good about and you feel really solid in your client delivery, it's then a lot easier to explain that to the client of like, well, you don't necessarily need the in-person, or like, hey, why do you need the in-person? And I think business coaching is the immediate thought when you go online. It's like, well, I need to learn how to run a business, but it's like, what happens once you're in the business? Because I know for me, like the business coaching I've been a part of that I went into very beginning, and this isn't to shit on business coaching, by the way. It's just there's an order of events that can happen. Like I think business coaching is needed. We still have a business coach.
Yeah. I was
But
gonna say I'm literally a business coach, and I can tell you guys when you need it and when you don't.
Yep. Yep. And everyone's obviously different, but I think too, if you have zero offer organization, you don't know how you're delivering things, you don't even feel confident in solving client cases, and there's a lot of complicated client cases even in the most beginner of clients. But when I was in my first business coaching container, it was like, okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna like give them workouts, you're gonna give them nutrition, very basic stuff, and then you're also gonna give them a weekly check-in. And that was like what I learned, and I had known that because I had invested in other coaches like 5 years before that. And so I kind of had an idea what it looked like, but I had no idea of what it looked like on the back end. And that's ultimately what we deliver in Apex Coach Accelerator is, how to handle a higher volume of clients, and how to do check-ins, how to deliver workouts and training or and nutrition, and like just how to actually coach at the end of the day. Like you have the knowledge from a book, a textbook, but like that's not real life experience and in real time as well. And so we're helping you through challenging client cases. We have Beyond the Cert, which is our thick ass course of like a ton of different stuff, for lack of a better term. There's 72 modules and like 3 different case studies for different types of or 3 different modules of case studies. And how to solve them. And so it just goes deeper, because ultimately coaching is a lot deeper than just here's a number for your macros, here's some workouts, and like you're gonna send me a check-in every week. So it's like going a lot deeper, and that's where Apex Coach Accelerator comes in. And it's a lot easier to talk up your coaching when you actually have something to back up that talk.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the plateaus really come from like a lack of clear coaching framework, right? It's like the plateaus that they feel in their coaching, in their business. Yes, there can be sales plateaus, of course, but there's also like internal plateaus, to your point of just like, hey, you're doing the macros, you're doing the workouts, you're doing the vibe check that you want to have in your retainer, whatever. Like it's there, but if there's no methodology to what you're doing and a belief system even to what your clients are following, it's going to be really hard, right? Like client success can actually feel really random at that point. It's like some clients are successful and some aren't. And it's like you need to have something that's kind of like your signature process, your signature thing, and how you work with clients. So I think it starts truly with like structuring your journey that you learn through being on your own journey and understanding like what that looks like in other containers and getting that experience, because without it, you will feel really lost and you will feel like you're throwing spaghetti at the wall with some clients. You're going to come out of check-ins and be like, did I say the right thing? Or you go into check-ins and you're like, I'm saying the same thing every single week. Like, what do I do beyond that? You don't know because you haven't built the methodology that goes beyond just the basics of what you're performing for your clients and delivering there. That, again, from social media, you're seeing everyone else deliver. So you think that that's the right thing. You're like, oh, well, everyone's doing this. Like, no, actually, the really successful coaches have something really signature to them that they've developed and worked on. And that actually is something that they created outside of just business coaching. It's something that they created within their own journey, that they got to, have. And now their clients see success because of it too.
And I think to that point, the plateaus are also happening with the coaches who haven't improved anything within their container and their offer over time. It's not just the coaches who are just starting, it's the coaches who have been delivering the same product over time and it hasn't improved and gotten with the times. I know for me, like, I've always struggled to like improve things if I'm like, well, it's working, but it's like, if everyone else is improving around you and you're staying the same, you are going to get left behind. And so that's something too, like even as simple as in 2022, when I got my first business coach, they're like, you should probably start using like a Google Calendar. And I was like, well, I have my paper planner. Why would I switch in 2022? Like, what was I doing? Why was I doing that? And it's just simple things like that to where it's like, it doesn't even have to be coaching delivery, but it's just something that you have that's actually pushing you to be better and to improve your offer so that you're continuing to get clients and that they actually feel really good in the container, that they're seeing results and that they're happy with things. Because yes, basics still work, but you also, to your point, need to have that framework, need to have something that does set you apart, because there are a lot of online coaches. I know people use that as an excuse. I think there's a lot of online coaches, but there's not a lot of really high quality, great online coaches. And that is what can set you apart.
And something too that I find with my business coaching clients is, asking them, hey, what makes you the go-to coach, right? Like what makes your program really great? And it's funny because some of them will be like, oh, well, I deliver custom programming and custom macros and 24/7 access to me on Messenger. And I'm like, cool. Same with 100,000 other coaches in this space. Like if that's your social media, like if you're going online, you're like, I'm different because I do custom programming and weekly check-ins. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're actually just like everyone else. And that's not to be hurtful to you guys. That's literally to actually inspire you to go beyond that. I actually had one coach the other day that she had put in one of her worksheets and she was like, I actually don't know what makes me different because I don't know what other people are doing. And I'm like, that actually is the wrong answer. You should know what's different. And it's that you actually don't know what other people are doing. So you've created your own process. Like that is actually a flex to say, I'm not going in and comparing myself to other programs. Instead, I've developed a method that actually works. Like I've developed something that comes from science, and she's a very smart coach. I was like, it's back from science and experience and being in the industry for the amount of time that you have and actually creating something that works, right? Not something that is the basics of what everyone else is doing. Because do you really want that to be what you say is what makes your, stuff different, that you've studied all the other like, no, it's okay to say, oh, I go beyond that because I've developed something that is personal. And you have to know what makes yourself different. Like it is something in this industry. I hate, and I know you do too, of people saying like, oh, it's saturated, but it can feel saturated when you make it that way. When you do say, well, everyone's doing custom macros. Correct. There's nothing special anymore about getting on a sales call with someone and saying, I deliver custom macros and custom programming. The person you're probably talking to already had a coach that did that exact same thing. So what makes you different? And that's where it comes internally. It comes from you. It comes from the methodology that you've created, the experience, the reputation you've created. And that can be really hard to face, but I think it comes from working on yourself too.
Yeah. That actually sparked something else. If like just like other reasons you're plateauing, And one of them, like you said, it comes from yourself. And I think that's a big thing. I think a lot of coaches get wrapped up in trying to be something else. Like, remember when people use the Instagram voice? I think people still do it. I did it. I don't anymore. I'm like very just myself now and more authentic. And people are attracted more to who you are versus who you're pretending to be online. Like I still like mess up and say stuff on like on my stories, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I just said that. And people will say that. They're like, I can't believe you just said that. And I'm like, I just say what's on my mind. And that's like me just being authentic. And that's what's going to attract people to me. Or it's going to attract people away from me. And that's okay too, because those aren't my people. But I think when you are struggling with your identity, it can be really tough. And that's where, and again, to the point of like Apex Coach Accelerator, it is having your own person, your own coach, your own mentor that can help you find that again, can be so helpful as well. And like, I think just having that person that's pushing you to do those things, and like, even like things you don't think about, like, oh, you actually just come across really fake on social media. Like, now people don't like that. I think that's another reason to plateau is like you just don't have your own voice yet. Maybe you don't have the confidence to show who you really are, and you need help developing that confidence too.
Yeah, absolutely. I was actually talking to Jess, who helps us with our social media, and we were talking about just like things to implement basically into like my social media essentially to show you guys the sides of like fitness and nutrition coaching that we do, right? Because we talk a lot about ACA, we talk a lot about like the mentorship side of things, but I don't think we talk a lot about the fact that we literally provide fitness and nutrition coaching. Like that's what it is. That's what Apex Athletics was created for. And so she was saying, she was like, well, you know, we just need to show more of that. Like we need to show more of you like tracking your macros and doing your workouts and doing that stuff to like still incorporate that into this new development of like identity that I'm stepping into in social media. And I was like, that's actually, and then I thought of two of my clients, Katie and Maya, and how successful their business has been since joining Apex and being coached by me, because originally they weren't posting about any of that. They weren't posting their own workouts and, you know, their journey and their stuff. And I think it confuses your audience of like, are you just telling me what to do or are you doing it too? Right? Like, is your audience just being told something or are you actually going and taking action and creating that mirror for yourself? And so my coaches that have been most successful are the ones that stepped into that and showing it on social media, thus creating this impact for their audience that their audience feels really, really, really inspired by. So it also goes into that of like going beyond a plateau in business and in coaching in yourself. Sometimes can just be like doing an audit and being like, oh shit, like I really haven't shown that side of me recently. Like I haven't shown how I literally am leading and being. And lo and behold, their businesses have been popping off since they've started doing that.
Yeah, and I think such an important question to ask yourself too is, are you not showing it because you're not doing it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where when you do start to not want to post on social media, like when you're the coach who's like, I just don't have anything to post. I'm like, what do you mean you don't have anything to post? Like, what are you doing every day?
Like, what did you eat for lunch? We couldn't have recorded that? Like,
Yeah. It's like there's so many things you can post about. And I think when I've struggled most with content is when I am not learning and I'm not pouring into myself. Um, and so that is where I urge people, I'm like, keep learning and keep prioritizing yourself because stuff will come so easy to you versus having to consume more content. Now you're like actually pouring into yourself, and showing those things. And then you feel more confident in sharing that too. And I think for so many coaches, I don't say this to shit on coaches, but like we do a really crappy job of prioritizing ourselves sometimes. And I think it's hard because our job is to pour into others and to take on a lot of the emotional toll that our clients bring to us. And then it's like, well, I don't want to do anything. And that can make things really tough. I kind of experienced that on, like earlier this week, just like the emotional toll the day took on. And I messaged Jess and I was like, hey, like I did not get my content done today because X, Y, and Z. And that's why I like to do things in the morning. Cause then before I have an emotional toll take on me, I don't have to do the big things, but it happens to all of us. And I think that's again, like I said earlier, it's an anomaly, but that's some coaches happening all the time where you push off the gym because you forgot to do a check-in yesterday and now you're getting it done today, or you push off meal prep because you've been answering client messages for 3 hours because you don't have time blocks set to answer client messages. And I think when you stop prioritizing yourself, you stop pouring into yourself, that's when things get a lot tougher.
Yeah. That was going to be my next point to kind of what causes plateaus for coaches is just like no systems. And I don't mean systems from like a business perspective. I even mean just systems for your own health and fitness, like your own anchors in a day. You hear about scalability all the time in business. You hear about the little dials that you can turn up and down to like make things happen. But like, how often are you doing that and looking at that for your own success when it comes to honestly you looking in the mirror and liking what you're seeing? And I don't just mean from like, oh, do I like how my glutes look? Do I like how my quads look? But like, it genuinely is something where you look at yourself and you either recognize yourself or you don't. Like if you guys go to my account, you'll see I highlighted Katie in her before photo. She is like dull. You can just tell her body did change, like, but the weight didn't change. She's like literally just been recomping. She's been doing amazing. But like you look at her photo now and she's like smiling, she's flexing. She just likes herself more because she created a system for her life that makes her life feel better, thus makes business feel better, and thus allows like systems in business to be in place. So it's even creating just an SOP for your own life of like when shit happens, here's what you do for this versus this, the same way you do for clients. And for me in this very busy season of business has even just been like me waking up earlier. Like I was like, okay, if I'm going to get it done, I have every choice and option right now to set my alarm 30 minutes earlier and give myself 30 extra minutes in my day that actually is very valuable to me at this moment. And so it's fixing your programming internally so that you know to match that, but also having the business systems, of course, because you can only operate for so long in business before you realize like, oh shit, me not tracking my client roster and my income and my KPIs, not knowing when client end dates are coming up, like you're only going to be operating for so long on that before you do crash and burn from that alone.
Yep. That reminds me of when I first started and people would be like coming to an end. Well, I did month to month for a long time, but people would be coming to an end. And I'm like, oh shit, they end tomorrow. And I'd be like, hey, Chris, you end tomorrow. Do you want to like resign with me? And they'd be like, tomorrow? Like what? And I think too, it's that messiness. And messy action is okay every once in a while. I mean, Chris texted me this morning. She's like, hey, I'm going to do this thing and I'm just going to take messy action and just kind of like put it together, which is like, that's great every once in a while. Sometimes you just have to do that. But I think when you are the coach who's doing that all the time, it's not just in your business, it's in your life. And now you feel so dysregulated in all aspects. And that can be a real challenge. And so that is, well, I guess before I get into it, did you have anything else like with plateaus that you've noticed?
I was going to say the other thing is really just like not looking at the data. It kind of goes into the same thing with systems. I literally just did an onboarding call with one of my newer ACA clients and I asked her how many clients she had and she was like, oh, let me go look at my sticky notes. And she had sticky notes on her wall of all of her clients, which I was like, that's amazing. Similar to your like paper calendar. But then when I started asking her like, okay, when are clients up for resign? What is your retention rate? What is your income like? She literally couldn't answer any of it. She was like, I think it's da 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 da. And I was like, we're not going to think anymore. We're going to like actually make decisions based on data. And I know I can be terrible with this. Like certainly there are periods in my life where I can go a long time without checking my bank account and just swiping and hoping that it goes through because I'm just like, it's out of sight, out of mind. Like it genuinely is something where I'm just like, it's the last thing you want to do. Like the last thing you want to do is sit down and look at numbers. And so it's working on your relationship with numbers and going back to the messy action. Are you taking messy action because you know it's going to benefit data because you do in some way have a decision making to say, oh, the messy action is going to help me? Or are you continuing to make messy action because you actually have no data? So you're just throwing things back at the wall. For me today, it was like, hey, Kelsey, I'm going to take messy action. I know that this freebie would really benefit people. I know it's going to move a needle forward for us and our goals. That's different than saying, hey, Kelsey, I'm going to take messy action and actually launch this challenge that we didn't talk about. I think I'm going to price it at $5.99 a month and just kind of see how it lands. Oh, but we're also in the middle of a launch right now. So do you think that'll confuse our audience? Like that is what I see with coaches.
Like, oh my God.
The amount of business coaches that text me and they're like, Chris, I think I want to launch this. And I'm like, why? Because I'm like, where is this coming from? And it comes from scarcity. And so exactly, messy action can be really beneficial, but do you have data that you're actually like looking at it and saying, actually, this is going to benefit the KPIs, is me taking this messy action and doing this thing. And it creates feedback loops and decision frameworks for you to be able to actually have less messy action in life, and thus being able to actually have a business that feels like it's not just, also it's in how you talk about your business, right? When someone's like, what do you do? So many coaches are like, oh, I run this this little business, whatever. Like, no, bitch, you run a business. Like, be proud. Like, genuinely just be proud. But it's how you're literally how you're operating your business is how you're going to speak about your business. If you're playing small and you're just like, I don't really know what I'm doing, whatever, you're going to be scared to talk about your business. But if you're actually doing it both in your life and in your business and just like doing it loudly and proudly, that's when you go into the holidays, and when people ask you about your business, you're like, actually, it's doing really great. It's doing really great. I have clients that are crushing it right now. They're doing this, this, this. I actually have this challenge that's coming up that's super exciting. Like, it's the same way that your cousin at the dinner table is talking about their 9 to 5 and how well corporate's going. You still get to hold that space too as a business owner and entrepreneur. And I think we forget that as coaches because we just think it's a small little thing, but it's actually not. Like, you're actually doing something really amazing and helping the stats of the world when it comes to health demographics right now. So just like allow yourself to take up that space via all the decision making and data and stuff that you get to have that allows you to create pride under your business.
Yep. And I think that messy action too can come, it's like structured messy action. When you actually have like deep work blocks. Like I know you kind of switched your Wednesdays to be a more deep work block, and that's when you came up with it. And it's like, that's great. But I think some coaches are literally operating, it's like, and to that point, you worked with, our mentor to be like, hey, like I'm just really sporadic right now, and I like need to fix my schedule. Because it's really hard to turn your brain. And that's what we work a lot with in Apex Coach Accelerators. Like, what does your schedule even look like? Like, are you doing check-ins in a day and then also turning around and trying to do content? Are you doing any back end work? Do you even have days where you're actually working in the business and like, are you working in the business, on the business today? Like, what is your focus? And when you start having just like little bits of that every day where like you don't have any themes and it's not focused, that is when things get just really messy all the time. Versus if you have like a deep work session where it is maybe, your time to brainstorm what's coming next and you're actually planning things ahead of time, then yes, there are certain things that you're like, oh my gosh, like I would have never thought about that, but I'm in this like really deep creative space in my brain. And you're not switching between the left and right side of your brain where now things are kind of coming to you better. And you're feeling a lot more clear.
Yeah, absolutely. The last thing I was going to add to just like plateaus and stuff is just really like feeling unclear on your results and how to position the results that you get your clients. I think it's something where we say like, oh, well, we can get the results, but we can't articulate to clients or to our audiences like how we do that, right? And the messaging almost doesn't match like the level of coaching that we're doing. So I think this really goes into working on your authority, like the amount of coaches that, again, have the knowledge, but do not have the authority that then can frame a client transformation and actually story tell about a client. That speaks volumes to me, right? It's one thing to say like, oh, I got the results. It's another thing to be like, oh, I got the results and here's exactly how. Here's how we got this person from point A to point B. It's not luck anymore. Like you have to know the system. You have to know how to speak that to your audience. And again, I think it goes into sometimes potentially you as a coach feeling like your own results have been luck, where you're just like, I don't know how I got here. I just like, lifted some weight and tracked some food and like, here's where I am. Whereas when you really put yourself under a microscope, you get to see the depth that you can go deeper as a coach and articulate that better when it comes to storytelling and authority and positioning yourself. That's like the biggest thing. I was talking to one of my ACA clients yesterday simply about authority. Like she was like, do you mind just taking a look at my Instagram, just telling me like what's kind of lacking? And I was like, honestly, authority. Like, I just don't know who you are as a coach, like what you do. I know you coach, I know you're smart, I know you can educate, but like, I just don't know like how you take up space in like the world of social media aside from form tips and videos. Like, I want to see who you are. And she really took that and she was like, oh, this is like so helpful. And it's just because she didn't know her positioning, even though she's a great coach.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. One of my ACA clients, she's really struggled with launches this year. And just like, she kind of fought herself on like, I feel like I need to do 101 because that's what everyone's doing. And then she's like, I actually really like group coaching. Like, I really love launch-based stuff where like it's very low lift. She works full-time as well and isn't like ready to leave her full-time job. But she's like, I love coaching. I just don't really want to like have the pressure of one-on-one coaching. And the I was like, dude, the reason why no one's buying from you is because they don't know you. They just see your reels. You
Mhm.
don't talk in your reels. You're not a human right now. Like there's videos of you, B-roll stuff, but like no one has heard you speak. And I was like,
Yeah.
you need to get on your stories. October was the first month she got on and talked about her stories, and end of September actually, because she ran like a challenge the whole month of October. It was the first challenge this year where she got more than one person in. She got 4 people in, and it was like I was like, dude, you showed up and you actually spoke. Like people are seeing you talk, and they're kind of seeing your sassy side where you're like you're telling people like the shit they're doing that's really keeping them the same. And it really made all the world of difference because she's now like more human. Like people want to know who you are. You can't just, post a bunch of content and expect people to be like, cool. They need to know, like, and trust you. They need to like know who you are as a person, who they're even investing in, and being able to have that personal connection with you too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing that she did that. And I
Yeah.
think I was just thinking in my head about how social media has become so much more personal, like it
Mhm.
compared to 2019 again. Like 2019, you weren't catching me talking on a reel. I can tell you that right now. 2020, when reels first popped off, it was like, here is the reel with no words, no nothing, like text
Yeah.
on the screen, a caption. And then again, like people were just buying into you. But now
Yep.
it's like everything's so personal. You have people showing days in the life, and that's just really what people want to see. And they want to
Mhm.
see your authority through that. And they, again, going back to embodiment, they just want to see how you live it. Right. And I think the question that I always like to even say to my coaches or people in the DMs that I talk to is like, hey, like if your clients showed up with your level, your current level of like consistency and depth and systems and whatever you have going on, like, would you be impressed with them? And a lot of them are like, no,
Mhm.
actually, I wouldn't be. Like, I would not be at all. So it does continuously go back to being like, well, would you be proud of your clients if they showed up in a check in the same way you just showed up in the past week of your life? And it's hard, but at the end of the day, like you have to exude a level of excellence in coaching. Like, coaching isn't saturated. It's simply that you have to start having a standard of excellence for yourself that then shows into social media, and you get to be done winging it with clients. You get to feel a lot more direct. And I feel like your true authority as a coach comes out as well.
Yep. And that's honestly where we come in at Apex Coach Accelerator. Like you have you are holding a standard for your clients, or at least I hope you're holding a standard for your clients, where they're coming in, they're paying you to hold them accountable, to give them the game plan. But who's doing it for you? Like, oftentimes I feel like coaches don't feel like they need someone holding the standard for them because they're like, I'm a coach. I can do it myself. And like, I challenge that. I'm like, how often do you find yourself slipping from that standard? Because like, everyone does it. But when you have someone else that's like holding you accountable and actually keeping the plan, like making the plan for you, it's a lot easier to want to hold on to it too. Not because you're worried about disappointing them, but because it's like so low lift for you. It's like someone's actually doing it for you now to where it's like so stupid simple for you to just do it. And that's where we kind of like I always think of like the handshake emoji with ACA, because I'm like, you have nutrition and fitness coaching. Like we are your nutrition and fitness coach. And then you have a mentor that's helping you with like client cases, coaching strategy, being even just like organized in your own life. And they merge and they're all in one. And there's like a third hand in here too. It's beyond the cert, but I only have two hands. It's like a kiss. Beyond the cert, it's like a little kiss. Um, Yikes, that was really bad. But it's where you're also getting, the education piece of it as well. And it's all in one.
Yep.
And it honestly is insane. And I feel like we don't hype it up enough. And people are always getting on calls with us like, this is insane. And it's something we are, doing a better job of. And we're working on messaging because there's not a lot of containers out there that
That
go
do.
as beyond, like above and beyond, like ACA does.
Yeah. No, we definitely have such a unique program. And again, it goes to show we're all working on something. Kelsey and I are working on our messaging. Like I was talking to our social media helper on that where we were like, hey, how do we get this better across? So like if you guys genuinely just want to know, like if you shoot us a DM and you're just like, hey, like, can you just explain this better to me? just let us know. Like, we want to give you guys clarity too, and show you how we get to develop clarity. Like, if there's any actually really amazing time to be following Kelsey and I, it's right now, because you're going to see quite the development of like our identities and our program and our shifting. And I think it's for anybody who's afraid to actually step into the version of themselves that they want to be. Now's the time to be following Kelsey and I, because we're very much going to be doing that, like, unapologetically, with messy action involved, with doing the things that we need to do, but in a way that actually benefits us, but also benefits our audiences. And you just kind of get to now be the example and be the standard, and just stop plateauing is really what we want for you guys. So we hope that you can learn from us and come in and be impacted, because it is insane, actually. I don't give our program credit enough. I gotta go figure out how to talk about it better too, because there's just so many words in my head. I was trying to tell our mentor, I was like, I need an elevator pitch. She's like, okay, shoot, like, go for it. And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I have 12,000 words I want to say. There's no elevator anymore. Like, we need like
an escalator.
It's a very slow escalator. It's like like, it's slowly dying. Like, it's just like, we are going so slow. We're actually stuck in the elevator. Like, in the elevator, like, it's like the biggest fear all of us have, getting stuck in an elevator. And you're like, shit, like, what do I talk about now with these strangers? It's like, okay, then I'm going to put in the perfect scenario. My elevator pitch doesn't, I would like to not have to have an elevator stall for me to get it across. Yeah. So, like, we're going to work on it, guys. But
like the wall of China
it really is. Yes. It's going to be something where we'll work on it, but I challenge you guys to work on it too. And Kelsey and I are in this as well. We're in it and we're doing it. And we are excited to help you guys if you really, really are ready to dive in.
Yeah. And I had a question in my DMs. Actually, I was talking to a coach and she was like, so what's the difference between Summit in 6 and ACA? And I was like, oh, Summit in 6 is just like our Black Friday deal, basically, which obviously Black Friday is like technically when this launches in like 2 days. But we just decided to run it all of November. So ACA it's like Summit in 6 is our umbrella and both programs go under that. So you just have to be in one of our full coaching offers to qualify for Summit in 6. And that's basically that. So if you enter Summit in 6, you're basically a one-on-one client. It's just an additional incentive to join because there's an opportunity to win money, but also we're kind of going above and beyond. There's a little bit more like element of some journal prompts and reflection within the challenge. And it's not just a challenge of your own physique. Obviously that's a byproduct, but I had someone who was like, I'm actually trying to conceive right now. Can I do the challenge? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Because you still have to show up for yourself when you're, potentially in that first part of pregnancy. And even like, if you get pregnant in December, that's 2/3 of your pregnancy where you're in this transformation challenge and still prioritizing yourself and your business as you go through it. And so it's not just a challenge of how can you transform your body, it's also how can you transform your mindset and your lifestyle to fit the person that you actually want to become.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to what I said about looking in the mirror and not necessarily needing to see this transformation in your body of like, oh, I like my delts more and my quads more and all this stuff, but like actually looking in the mirror and being like, I just like myself more. Like, I like my life. And I think falling back in love with your life goes beyond the physique. Physique's obviously great for some people. Others we just don't need. I actually have a lot of clients right now that are even just in healing protocols and they're just like, can I partake? And I'm like, yeah, like it's the embodiment, it's the lifestyle, it's how you're going to improve and how come July you're just happier, you're healthier, you're a better version of yourself. So yeah, I think again, go back to articulation, like Summit in 6 is not a group coaching program. It's literally our one-on-one coaching. We're just giving you a massive discount and a massive prize at the end, essentially. So come on in, come on down.
And we're all doing it with you. Chris and I and all the coaches are going to be partaking as well, which we're just like really pumped to also all transform throughout the 6-month challenge too. So we dropped that link for you. The enrollment literally ends on Sunday as you're listening to this. It'll be Sunday the 30th at 11:59 p.m. PST. That'll be the last chance. There's literally no fee to join either. It's just you're getting one-on-one coaching and now you get to be a part of also the challenge as well. So we would love to have you guys. Like I said, it's in the link in bio and I'm just so excited for it. Cool. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. We appreciate you listening and we will catch you in the next one.
See ya.
Bye.